Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai 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 Ram Om. Shri Ram Jai Ram 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 Jai Jai Ram Om. Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram 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 Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om. Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om. 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 Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram
O
Om.
Shri Ram.
Moha or attachment. Moha or attachment. As you all know, Swamiji is discussing about attachment only. So, first chapter, let us try to go through what Papa said about the first chapter. The Bhagavad Gita holds forth before mankind the highest and the loftiest ideal, by attaining which the soul is liberated from all limitations and enjoys the peace and bliss of his inherent state of immortality. The first discourse of the Gita speaks of the one great obstacle that confronts the struggling soul in his effort to realize this blessed state of supreme freedom. Now, what is the melody that has possessed the soul, which has made his life cramped, narrow, and limited, bringing to it a sense of helplessness and oftentimes utter despair? It is moha or attachment arising from the individual sense of I in relation to the body, and therefrom to the bodies of those near and dear to him by the ties of blood or friendship or material obligations. This moha causes the mind of man, as a result of its narrow vision, to move in a limited circle, identifying itself with the interest of this circle. In this condition, the vision of man, starting from his individual center, radiates only within this circle and gets so much absorbed in it that the humanity and the world outside it are considered entirely separate and foreign to it. It is within the experience of every human being who has spent some thought on the mysteries of life that life lived in this limited vision is a constant source of fear and sorrow. He further knows that the more in this vision expanded, the more is this vision expanded, the greater is his freedom and the higher is his joy. He feels that he is imprisoned within the fortress walls raised all round him by his ego. And although he knows that his freedom lies in breaking down these walls, his attempt at such a task prove futile, as he is conscious that moha has enfeebled him and made him unequal to it. It is this moha that weakened the strong altruistic purpose which freed the bosom of Arjuna to stand up and fight on the battlefield. Similarly, it is this moha that arrests the march of the aspiring soul when he strives for a wider vision of life and the resultant action. Man gets through moha so helplessly entangled and caught in the grip of selfishness, greed, and lust. Thus, acting and living solely for himself and his kith and kin, that the wider view of life is shut out. The wider view of life is shut out from him, and the great purpose for which he exists is either denied or forgotten by him. As with Arjuna, so with everyone who strives for liberation, it is a conflict between the aspiration for the vaster vision and the crystallized selfishness of an individualistic view of life. Arjuna proposes to abandon the task of a vast and world importance, which was inspired by an extensive vision and for which he was born, and in every respect fitted and prepared, being now subdued by the ephemeral interest and concern of his lower human nature. It is the impulse of an egoistic view of life that enveloped and conquered the greater vision and its action. What was the outcome or effect of such a degrading impulse on him? This is made clear by his own words, that he felt weak, helpless, unmanned, and in every way stricken down with fear, doubt, and despair. This is the work of moha, and is perfectly clear that moha is the Atmani that destroys the natural peace, joy, and freedom of a human being. Moha has its own ways of defense against the development of the higher and expanded vision. Through pulsable arguments, it seeks to prove that a life fully tinctured with moha is the real life, and that to transform such a life into a greater one would be undesirable and sinful. There is many an earnest aspirant for perfect liberation who knows well that moha is the cause of his bondage, and the sooner he is freed from its clutches, the better it is for him. But how is he to escape its hold when it has so strongly seized him and he feels weak and vanquished by it? He cries out for a life of infinite vision and utter freedom and immortal joy. His condition is similar to that of a bird of the woods struggling hard to be free from the cage in which it is imprisoned. Moha vitiates the intellect, poisons the springs of emotion, and renders the will impotent. In short, moha totally throws the soul into darkness and delusion, causing on him a magic spell that makes him entirely oblivious of his exalted, free, eternal, all blissful, divine nature. The soul, thus captured and subdued, living and acting in ignorance, experiences nothing but a round of anxiety, grief, perplexity, and fear. Arjuna, the ideal warrior, whose mission in life was to fight for the sake of justice and righteousness, refuses to perform the God appointed task on the eve of a momentous crisis. The erstwhile intrepid, noble, and high souled hero is now crushed down by the dreadful thought that by killing his dear kinsmen and revered elders, he was committing a horrible sin. We have heard of the term the devil quoting scriptures. Here we find moha citing scriptural injunctions, inducing Arjuna to declare that to fight even in a righteous war should involve him in sin, while in fact real sin consists in performing or rejecting actions through moha, born of the ego sense. Truly, ego is the root of all sins, and moha is its deadly weapon. And misery and confusion are what they jointly produce. Truly, ego is the root of all sins, and moha is its deadly weapon, and misery and confusion are what they jointly produce. So, the succeeding discourses of the Gita gradually develop a system of thought and discipline, by following which Sri Krishna, with all the authority of a God incarnate, definitely asserts that man can conquer this ego and moha and attain the inexpressible supreme status of the Godhead, that is, of a state of perfect liberation, peace, and bliss, and still be active in the affairs of the world. So, this is how Papa says. So, first chapter itself, Papa gave the name attachment. Now, Swamiji is taking attachment, all of us know. Somebody asked a question, no? So, what is attachment? And Lord Krishna, he explains beautifully in Bhagavad Gita, second chapter, in Sthita Prajna, so that he calls it as ladder of fall. That is the name given, the ladder of fall. Verse number, chapter number 2, verse number 62 and 63. As a ball rolls down a staircase, it bounces off the first step gently, then it jumps down the next step, and then gathering momentum, bounces down with higher speed and in longer leaps. It is easiest to catch initially, but that becomes increasingly difficult as it journeys to the bottom. To fall is not wrong. All of us have learned how to walk after falling several times. As children, we all must have remembered. No? To fall is not wrong. All of us have learned how to walk after falling several times. So, to remain fallen is wrong. To fall is not wrong, but to remain fall is wrong. The following ladder of fall is described to prevent us from falling or to help us catch ourselves in time. So let us see. Number 1, brooding causes a attachment. So how the attachment develops? Brooding causes attachment. So you all must be knowing, no, second chapter, 62 sloka number and 63. 62 and 63. Yes. Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha. Sangasteshupajayate. Objects and beings in the world are many. Objects and beings in the world are many. Being with them is not a problem. Thinking them to be pretty good or pretty good also is not a problem. But when in ignorance we superimpose joy on them, sukha adhyasa, and then brood over them, then that causes in us a desire to possess it. How attachment, no, travels. First what happens? Brooding. Objects and beings in the world are many. Being with them is not a problem. Thinking them to be pretty good or pretty good also is not a problem. But when in ignorance, it's not knowingly, unknowingly, in ignorance, we superimpose joy on them, sukha-adhyasa, and then brood over them. Then that causes in us a desire to possess it. How nice it is, I like it. It would be good to have it. This is how we all think. How nice it is, I like it. It would be good to have it. So entertaining such thoughts, that's sankalpa, entertaining such thoughts or sankalpa leads to attachment for things and beings also. So how attachment, step by step, how it gets into us. So objects and beings in the world are many, we all know. Being with them is not a problem. Thinking them to be pretty good or pretty and pretty good is not also a problem. But when in ignorance, we superimpose joy on them, we start feeling, the joy is there in the object. And then brood over them, a repeated thinking about it. Then that causes in us a desire to possess it. How nice it is, I like it. It would be good to have it. Entertaining such thoughts or sankalpas lead to attachment, sangha, for things and beings. So we all must have heard, be in the world, but don't let the world be in you. There is a saying, be in the world, but don't let the world be in you. So, next what happens? Attachment gives rise to desire. Sangasteshupajayate. Sanga sanjayate kamaha. Now next what happens? Sangat sanjayate kamaha. Thoughts get strengthened through repetition. So any thought, if we go on think, repeatedly thinking, it gets strengthened. Attachment to the thought gets stronger by ruminating on it again and again, and gives rise to the desire. How attachment leads to desire? First what happens? Thoughts get strengthened through repetition. Then attachment to the thought gets stronger by ruminating on it again and again. Then that gives rise to the desire. I want it. Addiction is a compulsive desire. I must have it. I want it now. I can't live without it. So desires do not allow us to focus on other thoughts or actions. So desires, what way it is going to ruin us? Desires do not allow us to focus on other thoughts or actions. They crop up all the time and keep distracting us from our goal. So dangerous thing, desire. Attachment gives rise to desire. Sanga sanjayate kamaha. Thoughts get strengthened through repetition. Attachment to the thought gets stronger by ruminating on it again and again, and give rise to the desire. So what happens at that time? Then we will say, I want it. So addiction is a compulsive desire. I must have it. I want it now. I can't live without it. That is how it goes on. Then desires do not allow us to focus on other thoughts or actions. They crop up all the time and keep distracting us. Then what happens? Next step. Desires cause hesitation and anger. Kamat krodobhi jayate. Kamat krodobhi jayate means desires cause hesitation and anger. Hesitation is directly proportionate to the number of desires or thoughts of desires. The more the desires, the more the hesitation. Strangely, we search for peace and also keep increasing our desires. Strangely, we search for peace and also keep increasing our desires. So we usually try to become happy by increasing the numerator. However, in the process, we find that the denominator keeps increasing and the numerator decreases. So the already distracted mind gets more agitated and frustrated. Desires cause then anger. Then what happens? Anger causes delusion. Krodhat bhavati sammohaha. Krodhat bhavati sammohaha. Anger causes delusion. An angry mind is highly agitated and the intellect cannot discriminate too well. It gets diminished, the intellect. An angered mind is highly agitated, and the intellect cannot discriminate too well. When it takes the form of rage, the intellect loses control over the mind as it runs amok. Enraged, a man speaks or does anything that comes to his mind. The intellect is bypassed. This results in temporary insanity, and the intellect gets confused, not knowing what to do. That's why name is given ladder of fall, how one by one the steps we fall. Then delusion makes us forget our past knowledge. Delusion makes us forget our past knowledge. Sammohat smruti vibhramaha. Sammohat smruti vibhramaha. We are the sum of values, wisdom and knowledge gathered from past experiences. When the computer hangs, no stored information can be accessed. We all know about the computer, no? When the computer hangs, no stored information can be accessed. It's not possible. Similarly, when the intellect is deluded, rational thinking hangs, is put on hold, and the wisdom becomes unavailable to us. And the wisdom becomes unavailable to us. Then what happens? When past knowledge is forgotten, the intellect is destroyed. Smruti bhramsha buddhi nasha. Buddhi nashaha. Smruti bhramsha buddhi nashaha. Smruti bhramshat buddhi nashaha. The job of the intellect is to understand, analyze and decide based on past experience and available information. When the intellect is neither able to comprehend the current situation nor access past knowledge, it crashes and shuts down totally. It crashes and shuts down totally. Then a destroyed intellect destroys the individual. Buddhi nashat pranashyati. Buddhi nashat pranashyati. We are cultured or civilized or human due to our intellectual ability to discriminate between right and wrong, good and bad, and the choices we make. So once the intellect is destroyed, we are like animals in human form, with no discrimination and no choice. We then become incapable of achieving any great goal in life. When most intellects in society get destroyed and we become inhuman, humanity shall perish. So drugs and alcohol directly affect our discriminative faculty. We see people under their influence behaving no better than animals. So how to prevent this fall? That is what, as a sadhakas, we should know how to prevent our fall. Let us see. So how ladder of fall we have seen, how we step by steps, we roll down when this attachment comes. So first we will review this ladder of fall, then go to how to prevent it. So let us try to see first what happens. Attachment comes. Let us try to review and share. So what are the points? First, ladder of fall, how it takes us. Brooding causes attachment. So repeated thinking. Hari Om. Pranam. So did you remember this? Brooding causes attachment.
Brooding causes attachment, and being with objects is not a problem, and thinking about them is not also a problem. But the ignorance causes superimposing the joy on them, and then further brooding over them.
That is the problem. That causes attachment.
Thinking on
it. That causes, thinking, that causes desire to possess. Because of the ignorance, we supermen. So we think that in that article or being, the joy is there, no? Happiness is there. That is ignorance. Ignorance means we unknowingly. So if
that leads to attachment.
So is the joy really there in object or being? We must have seen in our lives, no? If the object is giving joy to one person, all should get it, no? But same object or being won't give joy to everybody. So it cannot be the permanent thing, no? It changes. And which gave the one object or being now the joy, tomorrow there is no guarantee that will give me again, no? This all we must have undergone, all of us. So that we did not look into that. We thought, oh, joy is there. Okay. Then repeatedly thinking about it. That object or a being. Then what do we say? So because of ignorance, superimpose and think that joy is there in the object. Then brood over them. Then that causes a desire to possess it. So then what do we think? How nice it is. Oh, I like it. It would be good, no? If I have it. This type of thoughts comes. Then entertaining such thoughts again and again and again and again, that sankalpas leads to attachment for things and beings. That is how attachment is developed. Yes, second one. That is first attachment, how it has got. Attachment starts. Yeah, that leads to. Correct.
Attachment leads to anger, Mataji.
No, attachment give rise to desire first. Then desire is not fulfilled, no? First what happens when desire comes and it becomes strong, no? Repeated thinking, it becomes strong. Then what happened? At any cost I want it. I cannot live without it. That type of feelings it creates, isn't it? And I want it now only. I must have it.
Becomes a compulsive desire.
Exactly. Desire becomes a compulsive desire. Correct. Then what happens? The desires do not allow us to focus. It will not allow us to focus on any action. Any work we do, we will not be able to focus on any work we do, no? Always thinking of that desire only, no? I want it, that only will be going on in the mind. So presently whatever I am doing, I will not be able to focus on the job, isn't it? They crop up all the time and keep distracting us from our goal. Then because of that, what happens? Hesitation and anger.
Anger, hesitation, anger.
Desires again causes, because of this, compulsive desire, then that causes hesitation and anger. Then
Causes frustration and
instead of reducing desires, isn't it?
desires.
And increasing the desires, increasing our problem, isn't it? What a state we are, no? The already distracted mind gets more agitated, isn't it? More frustrated. Frustration comes, no? Then it causes anger. Then anger causes delusion. An angry mind is highly agitated, and the intellect cannot discriminate. Then it diminishes, isn't it? It gets clouded. Intellect gets clouded. When it takes the form of, it loses control over the mind. Usually mind should be under the control of the intellect, isn't it? Otherwise decision will not be right. Then whatever, the mind will start functioning. Mind has no capacity to discriminate, so it just simply impulsively we will start acting. Then what happens? The intellect is bypassed. This results in temporary insanity, and the intellect gets confused, not knowing what to do. All of us will be, this is really very important thing, attachment. That is what happened to Arjuna. No, we are all Arjunas, no. It's not that 5,000 years back somebody, this is our position. Then delusion makes us forget what? Our past knowledge. It's not only now we are unable to do, and past knowledge also it lost. Then we are sum of values, wisdom and knowledge gathered from our past experience. When the intellect is deluded, rational thinking hangs. But a computer. Thinking hangs. It is put on hold, and the wisdom becomes unavailable to us. We all know computer, no? When computer hangs on, no stored information can be accessed. That is how our life becomes. Then when past knowledge is forgotten, the intellect is destroyed, gone completely. So the job of the intellect is to understand, analyze and decide based upon past experience and available information. When the intellect is neither able to comprehend the current situation nor access past knowledge, it crashes and shuts down totally. Then what happened? A destroyed intellect destroys the individual only. Finish. Gone completely. That is what happened exactly with Arjuna. Huh?
Human values are not
Animal.
capable of achieving anything.
Animals in human form. Bah. So what it teaches us, how to prevent this? So let us see. How Lord Krishna, what did he say? We can prevent such falls from our civilized human stature by, number 1, staying firm in the knowledge. What is that knowledge? That happiness is not in objects, but in our own true nature. Staying firm in the knowledge What is that knowledge? Staying firm. We should not, distract. We should not think for a second also that happiness is there in objects and beings. No, it is my true nature. Happiness is my true nature. It is not there. The joy is not there in the objects and beings. That firm conviction, staying in that. Then next, not wasting time brooding over objects, keeping ourselves busy with duties and creative and meaningful activities. If we keep ourselves free, then same thing will be brooding and again and again and again thinking will be going on in the head. That's why what we have to do, we should not waste time. Not wasting time brooding over objects or beings. Then what we have to do, keeping ourselves busy with duties and creative and meaningful activities. Able to hear all of you?
Yes, Mataji.
Keeping ourselves busy with duties and creative and meaningful activities, not simply doing something. Then, decreasing non-conducive desires. Decreasing non-conducive desires. So that means need-based life, not desire-based life, no?
Right.
They're not insisting that all our desires ought to be fulfilled. We should never insist, I had this desire, I should fulfill it. I want it at any cost. I can't live with it. That type of thoughts should not be entertained. Not insisting that all our desires ought to be fulfilled. Okay, God has given me this desire. It's okay. If it is fulfilled, okay. If I have this, okay. If I don't have, that is okay. If I have it, God knows better. That is needed to play my role in this life. So if I could not get it, it's all right. Thank you, God, you have not given me. That means it is not needed. So our peace will not get disturbed. Then not deciding, acting or speaking when in anger. Especially when we are in anger, because intellect is not functioning, we don't know what we will do. So better is what? No decision should be taken when we are in anger. And we should not do any activity also in the anger, because it gets spoiled. And we should not speak also. Or not speaking when you are in anger. Chanting the name of the God when we see ourselves getting angry. Sachidanand Swamiji used to say, any situation, anything, whatever comes, immediately first take God's name. So the intensity of that anger comes down. Chanting the name of the God when we see ourselves getting angry. No, we will know inside anger starts coming. Immediately take the name of the God. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram. So that the Nama will makes the mind calm, quiet. Reading the scriptures and keeping good company. Mahatma's life, like Bhagavad Gita, some books which gives us the self-knowledge, and keeping good company. So this is how we can prevent our fall from that ladder of fall. What is the ladder of fall? Steps. We have seen. Then how can we prevent this? These are the remedies given. If we hold on to this, then we will be able to What happens if we can prevent ourselves? We get peace. We are in peace because peace is our nature in the mind and in there, isn't it? Hesitation is not our nature. Peace is a natural state. Hesitations are created. When hesitations end, peace regains. Hence, our effort should not be in creating peace, but in our effort should not be in creating peace, because peace will not be created. It is my original nature. Our effort should not be in creating peace, but in removing hesitations. What are the causes for hesitation? What are the causes for hesitation? So let us see. Number 1, ego, ahankar. Identification with actions and doing them give rise to the notion of doership or ego. Doership is also called ego. Doership or ego. Identification with actions and doing them give rise to the notion of doership or ego. I speak, I think, which in turn creates hesitations like I am unhappy, I am restless, and so on and so like. And the like, So, who is the doer? We know all actions are done by Papa's in quest of God. 1 year we have gone through. Who is the doer? Did we remember? Yes, anybody? Who is the real doer?
Doer is a life force and a mysterious power.
God is in the form of life principle in all of us. That Papa gave the name subtle mysterious power. Indwelling reality within and all pervading reality without. So within also, without also, all actions are done by that power called God. So He is the doer. God is the doer of all actions. Forgetting that if I start thinking I am the doer, then finish. That is one of the cause for hesitation. Then second one is minus. Mamata. Papa has written moha. The ego arises in the body, and minus is the notion in things related to the body. My car, my painting, my mobile, my computer. It creates hesitations like jealousy, possessiveness, fear of loss, and so on. Mine, me and mine. First one is me. I am the doer. Second one is mine. All these are mine. Did we bring anything? Papa says we have not brought anything. We came empty handed. Everything belongs to the Bhagavan. I am a trustee, temporary caretaker. I am a temporary caretaker. We should remember that. Then this won't happen. Then next one is desire, kamaha. Wanting an object or being, thinking it will give me joy is desire. It creates hesitations like restlessness, emptiness, and like. Then fourth one is craving. It is the longing for the object already enjoyed. It creates hesitations like continuous want, reliving past memories, imagining and anticipating future pleasure. So these are the hesitations which we need to remove. Once the hesitations are removed, peace is my true nature. I will be in that. Peace underlies all hesitations. Self-knowledge destroys the false ego. Once the ego is removed, minus desires and cravings totally disappear. Once the ego is removed, I am the doer, all these are mine, these two has gone means everything will go automatically. Hence the man of realization is naturally peaceful. The Gita and cravings, to the extent they are reduced, even though we may not have attained self knowledge, to that extent we will certainly experience peace. So did we understand anything? So practice is needed now. बिमला कुछ समझ में आया?
हरिओम, प्रणाम।
प्रणाम।
एक्चुअली क्या गेस्ट आ गए तो लेट हुई।
हाँ,
गेस्ट आ गए।
प्रिवेंट ऑफ फॉल नहीं सुने। अभी यूट्यूब में भी है, आनंद आश्रम सत्संग में सुन लेना, ठीक है? हाँ, तो थोड़ा सुन लेना, ये बहुत अच्छा अपने को काम बोले तो इट विल हेल्प अस लाइफ में ना। अपन पीसफुल रहने के ना, अपना नेचर पीस है, उसके ऊपर ये सब आके ये प्रॉब्लम है। बोले तो ये मैं करने वाला हूँ नो, मैं कर रही, ये सब मेरा है, ये दोनों फॉल्स है ना। अगर भगवान नहीं है तो मेरे अंदर आई एम ए डेड बॉडी नो, भगवान इज इन द फॉर्म ऑफ लाइफ, है ना, है ना। अंदर भी वही कर रही, सांस चल रहा है, मैं कर रही क्या, ब्लड सर्कुलेशन हो रहा है, मैं कर रही क्या, नहीं है ना।
नहीं, मैं और बॉडी अलग।
हाँ, बोले तो पूरा हो रहा है ना। डाइजेशन टेकिंग प्लेस, ब्लड सर्कुलेशन इज गोइंग ऑन, श्वास चल रहा है। श्वास मैं बोल सकते क्या, मैं कर रहे बोल के, वो हो रहा है ना। जब अपने अंदर वो लाइफ है तो हो रहा है, लाइफ नहीं है तो डेड बॉडी है तो होता है क्या, डेड बॉडी में तो कुछ नहीं हो रहा है। ऑर्गन्स भी है ना, आंख रहता है, देख नहीं पाते, है ना, कान रहता है, सुन नहीं पाते, मतलब भगवान नहीं है तो ये कुछ नहीं होता है ना। तो अभी भी भगवान कर रहे तो मैं कर रहे बोल के सोच रहे मैं, है ना, वो ये सोचना चेंज करना है ना।
अच्छा, भगवान ही कर रहे हैं, वही पूछना।
हाँ, मैं कर रहे के मतलब से बिमला बोले तो चंद्रानंदा, चंद्रानंदा नहीं कर रहे, है ना। चंद्रानंदा इसको इंस्ट्रूमेंट को दिए सो नाम है, इसको इस्तेमाल करके भगवान कर रहे, है ना।
हाँ, सही।
हाँ, ये याद रखने के लिए अपने को पापा ने राम नाम करो बोले, निरंतर करने से याद रहता है। बार बार ये मन में भी लाते रहना, है ना। कुछ भी काम कर रहे तो पापा आप ही अंदर है ना, आप मेरे अंदर, हाँ अंदर है, तो अंदर हो के आपका शक्ति से ये काम हो रहा है ना। लोग बोलेंगे मैं कर रहे बोल के, तो पापा बोले मैं पावर ऑफ अटर्नी दे रहे। सो भगवान सेड आई एम गिविंग यू पावर ऑफ अटर्नी, लोक व्यवहार के लिए इन द रिलेटिव प्लेन यू हैव टू accept that you are doing, but at the same time with one condition is whenever you are accepting outside you are the doer, immediately you should bring into your mind that God is the doer inside, no need to tell anybody outside बोल के immediately we should pass on to पापा। पापा हो गए, हाँ वो पास ऑन कर देना है ना। अपन रिसीव करने के लिए इंस्ट्रूमेंट रिसीव करने को है, अपन रिसीव कर लेते फिर पास ऑन कर देना है ना। हाँ, वैसा बाहर वाले को बोलने का जरूरी नहीं, मैं नहीं करे ये सब करने का जरूरी नहीं है, क्योंकि पावर ऑफ अटर्नी रिलेटिव प्लेन के लिए पावर ऑफ अटर्नी दिए पापा ने, तो एक्सेप्ट करना फिर इमीडिएटली पास ऑन करना। रखना नहीं, रखे तो बंधन हो जाता।
बराबर।
हाँ, अभी अपन देना नहीं चाह रहे, नहीं दिए तो बंधन वो पूरा हो गया है ना, है ना।
हम्म।
तो पापा ऐसा करने से इजी हो जाए। वो याद रखने के लिए ये राम नाम करते हैं अपन, राम नाम याद दिलाते हैं अपने। कभी भी भूल के मैं रख रहे तो ए क्या कर रहे आप, सॉरी 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 बोल के फिर दे देना, है ना। कोशिश करेंगे अपन, है ना। अपन सब ना प्रैक्टिस करने से आता ना, बार 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 रिपीटेड ब्रूडिंग ब्रूडिंग। तो अपन क्या करते, भगवान अटैचमेंट वर्ल्ड का लाके वो ही कैसा करना बोल के उधर दिए ना, ब्रूडिंग करना, रिपीटेड थिंकिंग। तो भगवान का थिंग्स बीइंग्स का छोड़ के इधर इधर इस तरफ उसको कर लेना, है ना उस तरफ जाने का मन को इस तरफ अंदर जाके भगवान को याद करो बोल के उसको बोल देंगे, प्रयत्न करेंगे प्रयत्न करने में। हाँ हाँ बिमला बहन, ठीक है 8 o'clock हो गया। थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर ज्वाइनिंग। कविता जी बहुत बार फ़ोन करके पूछे सत्संग चाहिए बोल के, फिर आज नहीं आए, उन बिजी होंगे। बोल
नहीं देखा होगा।
हाँ वही बोल देना, उन्हें बहुत बार फ़ोन किया, आप क्यों नहीं कर रहे बोल के। मैं बोले थोड़ा दिनों में करेंगे। मैं
बीच में आप सुबह मेडिटेशन करवाते थे, वो भी अच्छा लगता था।
हाँ एक एक शुरू कर लेंगे। हाँ ना। ओम श्री राम, जय राम, हरि ओम। थैंक यू वेरी मच। हरि ओम, प्रणाम, हरि ओम।